So I found a link where Kiyosaki said in 2012, don't buy gold or silver. Now, I had mentioned that Kiyosaki sold last year. I think I had mentioned something to the fact that he was not saying buy. I didn't have the exact quote, and actually someone was asking on a lot of different channels if they could verify this or find this. So actually Kiyosaki was one of the pundits who gave me confidence to buy gold and silver. I had known him since, not personally, but I had known his books since his Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've kind of been following him sort of. When he had this conspiracy the book he was writing it, he had a blog, and he wanted input from his audience. So I got an account with his blog, and chapter by chapter, he would post a chapter, we would read it, and we would give him feedback, and we would say, we want to know more about this, we like this, and he would actually update the book based upon his sample audience, which I was a part of. So I'd get updates from this conspiracy of the rich, and last year I got an update in my email about don't buy gold or silver, and I'll read it to you. And now, actually, because people said, that a lot of people tie in Mike Maloney and Kiyosaki, and I think people probably know this, but 2 years ago, I spent, and several other YouTubers spent a day with Mike Maloney, and he even treated us to this very nice steakhouse, where really nice place. And afterwards, we went to this really cool bar and whatever. We hung, and the people who work for Mike Maloney have very high morale. His employees love him, and that's one reason why I've respected him, is because when you have an owner of a company, and the employees really like the owner, and the business is successful, that impresses me about the people in the business. Now, when I was talking to Mike Maloney, he said that whatever he's telling me, I can tell my YouTube channel. And he says I can ask him any question. I asked him a lot of questions, and he was open with me. So one thing that he told me about Kiyosaki was that when he got it, because I was asking about how did you get started with Kiyosaki, he was saying that when he first got started, he wanted to work with Kiyosaki, and Kiyosaki didn't know him, and Mike Maloney didn't have a big audience, so Mike Maloney actually paid like several $1,000s to speak at Kiyosaki's conferences. It was like a business deal, So after Mike got a big enough name in his following, Mike, of course, didn't pay to speak, and might have even gotten paid to speak. I don't know that part, but I do know is that Mike Maloney would pay Kiyosaki to speak at his engagements. So one of the reasons why he was talking to us YouTubers was that he was in New York for his video, and he does he wanted to interview Gerald Celente for his video, and Gerald Celente wanted $10,000, or the Trends Institute wanted $10,000, and Mike Maloney said, well, I think I'll just talk to YouTubers because they're a big part of the silver market, and they won't charge me, and they'll treat us afterwards, and he did. So he, and that's how it works in the alternative media with all these big pundits. Is it's a business, and there's a lot of money changing hands, and there's a lot of deals being made. Now, it doesn't mean they hate each other. It doesn't mean that they're like all dishonest. It means that there are business transactions where money changes hands. Okay, so here's the thing. It says don't buy gold or silver. He says, you may have noticed the price of gold and silver are rising. As I write, gold is around $16.70 and silver is about $30 an ounce. And this was in August of 2012. And of course, silver and gold are both below that now. He says, I've been a gold and silver bug since 1972. He goes, I do not recommend buying gold and silver simply because now, he says, I do not recommend buying gold and silver now simply because other people are. And I'll do today. He goes, I remain bullish on gold. He says gold could be around $2,000 an ounce in less than 5 years. He goes, at present, the price of gold and silver are going up because investors believe the Federal Reserve Bank will announce QE3. If the Fed does so, gold will push toward $2,000 an ounce. Again, $1,600 or $2,000 is not enough to be excited about. I kind of disagree there, right? If this is 2012 and gold's like 1670, and if you think gold's going to push to 2000, that's a pretty good trade. I think most professional traders will say 1670 to 2000 in a short period of time is pretty good. And of course, what traders do is they'll allocate like what 2% of their capital towards that trade, and they'll use margin and leverage and whatnot. But I think that 1672,000 with the QE3 announcement, that's pretty good. So he must have some very, very sweet deals he's working on, or he's not, or he's doing something different than what he's saying. But here's the third thing: it's the risk and reward. He goes, the logic is the same reason I do not buy Apple stock, even though I love Apple. He goes, at $600 a share, a prediction of $1,200 is not logical. I would risk too much for too little. So he's using the risk and reward. He would say, I would risk too much for too little. So apparently he thought that the 1672,000 was risking too much for too little. And of course, gold didn't hit 2,000. Did it push upwards to 2,000? Well, it did go up some. But in that logic, it also pushed up towards 20,000, right? If gold goes up, he says it's pushing towards 2,000. Well, because there's a line here, it's pushing up. Well, it's also pushing up to 20,000. It's also pushing up to 200,000, right? Because if it's going up, it's heading towards that level, right? So when he says push towards 2,000, I think that's, maybe you can interpret that different ways. I'm not sure. He goes, if you are tempted to buy gold, silver, or Apple, I suggest that you find out more about gold, silver, and Apple and global market conditions. He says, as I said, I love gold, silver, and Apple, but buying for the sole reason that prices are rising is a silly reason to buy anything. So he says, don't chase prices, chase knowledge. And he has other things in there. You can read the full thing. But that's kind of one of the things I was saying about these guys. And is you notice that when Kiyosaki said don't buy gold or silver, it didn't get picked up anywhere. When I used Google, I had to go many pages deep to find this, right? This is the problem with using Google and the internet for this investment advice, is it's a popularity contest. When something's popular, it gets posted more. And when it gets posted more, that means when you Google something, you have to go many layers deep to find out stuff that's not as popular. That's kind of a shortcoming of the current Google model. Maybe they'll come out with a new version of Google where if you want to find out about what Kiyosaki is saying and you want to hear his range of opinions, you won't have to go many pages deep. Because I think that's what's happening in the investment community is people do Google, they stop 2-3 pages deep and they don't go further, because that's when you start getting the interesting stuff. So thanks for watching. And yes, the prices of things tend to rise when there's panic, right? When people are like, freaking out, that's kind of when prices rise. So is the maximum freakish out happened yet? We'll see. Maybe it will bounce, maybe more freaking out. That's kind of a short-term thing. So thanks for watching.